Hey, good afternoon, Fargo, on this wintry, blustery, cold afternoon. I'm Jon Adams, and you've tuned in to Talk of the Town. Uh, it's going to be an interesting hour because I have a number of different things I want to cover. Um, like I said in October, I said I wasn't going to talk politics till after the election. I decided to hold off until I could really flesh out how I feel about Donald Trump becoming the next president. So I'm going to cover that. I'm going to tell you guys why Donald Trump is my president, as well as we're going to have some Viking talk. Uh, what 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 do you do during the holidays? So my big fight during the holidays is gaining weight, and so I'm going to talk about some do's and don'ts, as well as dealing with the emotional struggle of losing loved ones and how we can cope around the holidays. And with that, we're off and running. At the top of the list, the Minnesota Vikings are 8-2, and I'll tell you what, I said it at the beginning of the season. I put the Vikings on 10-6 for the season, so I'm well on the way to being right. And as you know, being right matters a great deal to me, simply because I'm a second-class citizen in my own home. So when I get a chance to be right, I take it and run with it, and I don't let anybody forget that I was right that one or two times a year. But you know, you look at the progression or regression of Sam Darnold on the Vikings team. This team has everything in place. Now there are some things that we see that need to be corrected or we need to get a handle on, and at the top of the list is the offensive line. And you know, through the first 5 games, they were opening up holes. Aaron Jones was running smart. JJ was getting open. And I honestly feel like people need to pay attention to the center of that pocket. Now, they got rid of Ed Ingram. Well, they didn't get rid of him, but Dalton Reisner is back, and he should stabilize that area. But I think right now, if and the free agency's over, so trying to pick up another good lineman, we need two good linemen. That's how far away we are from being an elite team. Now, 8-2, you look at it. The Vikings have played some stellar defenses. I think we have to acknowledge Detroit Lions are the bell call right now. I think they are the best, well-rounded team on the planet. But when Jared Goff threw those 5 interceptions, he showed that you could be had. You know, that he could be had. You put pressure on him up front. The one thing the Vikings didn't do was when we played them, they failed to realize that he's just going to take 3-step drops and get the ball out. Well, we at no time did we really play press coverage until towards the end of the game in the second half. But I think it's going to be nip. Holy cow! I'm hyper today. It's going to be nip and tuck all the way. So I think that if the Vikings can continue on their way and just get better every week now. 2 weeks ago, they failed to score a touchdown. Holy, what is wrong with me today, James? I can't tell you guys, I did not take my medicine. I'm actually trying to get off the oxy. The oxy. Holy smokes. I'm trying to get rid of the ADHD medicine and just do things natural, use some different natural remedies to try to bring my ADHD into focus. And as you can see, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So, James, let's talk about a couple different things. First of all, Sam Darnold. Have you noticed that he's been rushing through his progressions almost so that he misses that easy read?
It seems to me like they're forcing throws to JJ, and they're not looking towards the check down as much. Now, some of that, I think, over the last couple of games before you brought Reisner back this past weekend, right? And you're also, goodness, drawing a blank on Cam Robinson, the left tackle. Mm-hmm. You're getting him integrated in. He's solid, but he is not what Darisaw was, right? Darisaw is not a Pro Bowler. He's an All-Pro,
right?
That's a completely different level, let alone, go from solid to Pro Bowl to All-Pro. So you're down a step or two there at left tackle. Ed Ingram was very kind of up and down, right? It was very rocky road with him, where there was times where he looked good. There's times where it looked like you could have put a sponge out there to be able to be better at blocking somebody. And so Dalton Reisner now being as healthy as he is to be able to be in there, I think helps out a lot, especially with the other portions of the guard and the interior play at center as well with Bradbury, and I'm drawing a blank on who's playing left guard right now for the Vikings, but it just helps solidify that interior offensive line a little bit more so. So my hope is that they look into it this week a little bit more, going up against the Bears, a team who, defensively is playing well. Offensively, they're starting to really, hang on some things and struggle is Chicago. So I'm hoping that Coach O'Connell can talk a little bit with Darnold and say, hey, we should be able to have some more time to work through progressions. We love JJ, but at the same point, 15 targets for 5 receptions isn't as good as 10 targets for 8 receptions, right? And working things around a little bit, and hopefully the ball doesn't get put up in suspect spots as much with bringing Reisner in, with Robinson now being integrated in for about a month with the team. Now that maybe that's wishful thinking, because we know Chicago is not going to go 4 down defensive linemen and just straight rush us every play. They're going to stunt. They're going to send cornerbacks. They're going to send safeties. They're going to do things like what we do with Harry, the hitman, and things of those sorts. And so Sam is going to have to look towards checkdowns from time to time and not rely on JJ burning 2 or 3 defensive backs each and every play.
That was a mouthful, and I think you're right on. And, one thing is that Kevin Costner, Kevin O'Connell's,
him as well.
Kevin O'Connell's offense is designed to feature a wide receiver. That's why you saw Cooper Kupp become an all-pro. That's why you saw Puka Nacua become so outstanding, because they're running the same sort of offense as Los Angeles. And to me, like you said, he is forcing the ball to JJ. But I like the fact that our tight ends are more involved now. I like the fact that we see Addison. And I'm telling you, if Naylor catches 3 passes, we're at least 9-1.
Well, if Naylor can catch right in that realm of 2.5 a game, if he can catch 3 passes a game, it opens everything up that much more.
Well, he's so fast, but I mean, where's this guy's hands? He missed that short pass going into the end zone. I think it was against Detroit. That would have helped. And then he also, last week, he missed a long bomb. That thing went right through the wickets. And so, there's a lot of little things within the game where if this had happened or that had happened, it had been a different game. And so, I picked my top 3, and it goes like this. It goes Detroit, obviously a very complete team, but Jared Goff can be had. And I think that and this is a little conspiracy in me, I honestly think that they didn't play the game that they will play the last game of the season when they meet Detroit. So in other words, they wanted to hold some stuff in reserve, so when they see him down the line, there are some wrinkles that he's not going to be able to adjust to. Okay?
Hopefully.
Now, yeah, well, I don't put anything past Flojo. I mean, sometimes his defense is feast or famine. Like, you see him give up an open receiver here, but that's what happens when you blitz 60% of the time. You're going to get those things happening. But overall, like I said, if you're a Vikings fan, you can't help but be happy that the position the Vikings are in. So from there, I want to talk about the Golden Gophers. They got Penn State coming into town, and I think this is a pivotal game for P.J. Fleck. And what I mean by that is they've beaten some ranked opponents. USC was ranked, and I forget the other team that was ranked that they beat. But then they dropped the easy games. North Carolina, they should have won.
Yep.
Is it Illinois? No, they beat
Illinois.
Illinois.
They beat Illinois. They lost to Rutgers.
Yeah. It's like, how? How do you, but overall, I'm giving P.J. Fleck a B this year. And I'm giving him a B because he abandoned the run. He's always been run heavy. I hate the stupid offense that he runs, but this year they've taken the top off it. They've allowed those receivers to do their thing, and they use Darius Taylor in the right way now. It's not just pound like they did with Mo Abraham. So it's going to be an excellent test. Now, the funny thing is the Viking defense is a top 10 defense in the nation. They have done very well. So I'm excited for it. I thought I might be able to get some tickets to the game, but with the weather being it is, I don't think I want to sit outside. I'm not.
Not with 50,000 of your closest friends.
No. I'm an old lion now. And so for me, it's like I have to pick and choose when I want to be outside, and so I think I'll watch that game on TV. But we're coming up against the break. When I get back, I'm going to talk about why Donald J. Trump is my president and my thoughts surrounding the election, what the next 4 years hold. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000, or you can email at studio, wdaynow.com. Wow. James has got me vibing over here. I don't know what that song was, but that was pretty smooth. So, last segment, we were talking about the Minnesota Vikings and what a fantastic season they're having. And I hope they can continue to move in the right direction. I want to pivot a little bit because, like I said last month, I refused to talk about the election because I thought that, the American people weren't going to win regardless of who got into office. And I'm hoping that my thoughts on the election and Donald Trump don't bear out, but I don't have any real illusions about what's going to happen over the next few years. Just based on tariffs alone, we're talking about a 20% tariff. There's no way that can't trickle down to the American people. I don't care what people say. If you look at it, you see businesses that are stocking up and they're buying supplies early because they're afraid of what's going to happen as far as price increases go and their ability to buy product at a reasonable price. And with that being said, I want to say first and foremost, Donald Trump is my president. And some of my friends that are listening aren't going to like the fact that I said that. But to me, part of the process of being an American is accepting election results, okay? And accepting who holds the highest office in the land. That person is, to me, and these are just my opinions, the office of the president is a sacred position as far as I'm concerned. The president is supposed to represent the people, supposed to represent everything that's good about being in America. And part of that process is our elections, and we elect officials. I wish that we just went by the popular vote instead of the electoral college. I think that there are shenanigans that can happen, all along the political spectrum. But in my worldview is that guy is the president, and so we need to get behind the fact that he is the president. Now, my hope is that he keeps a large number of the promises that he made as long as they benefit the American people. Okay? And like I've said all along, 30% of the United States is I won't say we're bulletproof, but we understand how to move within the system. But, now I hear that there's supposed to be something going on with Medicare and Medicaid. Well, despite my boyish good looks, I'm in the Medicare, Medicaid crowd as of January 1. I'll be 60. And so, to me, that's a concern. There is this thought that Social Security is going to go away. And to me, it's like, wait a minute. If we quit borrowing from Social Security would be fine. And as I talk about these things, people need to remember, the government isn't just Republicans and Democrats. They operate in concert with one another, sometimes to our benefit, most of the time they don't. I like to say that they're two sides of the same coin, and they're in cahoots on a lot of the positive and negative things that happen to us. Joe Biden's infrastructure bill. I heard people rip this guy up and down, but North Dakota got a healthy chunk, and part of that money is going to fund Hector Airport, the upgrades to Hector Airport. So, that's a situation where I look at it and go, hey, good job. At the same time, we cannot be fooled by what we're seeing. So one thing that really bothers me is that people don't hold the office of the president in the reverence that they should. Now, a lot of people want to say, well, I voted for Trump because this, and this. Well, to me, I have problems with it. And at the top of the list, I've said it before, he makes bad people feel empowered. And we've already seen it start because we had the neo-Nazis marching through Columbus, Ohio. And I just want everybody to think about what that represents. Neo-Nazis walking through black neighborhoods, saying what they said. I won't get into it, but it was vile and it was disgusting. And, people talk about your right to assemble, freedom of speech and all that. But where does that line end? And these people will become empowered. And I had somebody tell me that's not what Donald Trump stands for. And I said all along, you can tell me anything, but the proof is in who are the people that have a Nazi sign next to a Donald Trump sign. How do you defend that position? And I had somebody tell me, well, part of the movement has been hijacked. Well, I'll tell you what, when BLM was hijacked by the far left wing, I had something to say about it. And I condemned it openly because that's not what that movement was all about. But it's interesting when you listen to opponents of that movement, that's what they focus on. And they don't give any part of BLM grace. Well, for me, if that's the type of accountability that we're going to have, then let's have that accountability on both sides. And so feel free to call in and tell me what you think about the fact that we have neo-Nazis marching through minority neighborhoods, spewing their hate, spreading dissent, because the same sort of the same sort of accountability that you had for BLM, Let's have that for these hate groups. You know, I was scheduled to have an immigrant gentleman on. He's the owner of Tropical Spice. It's a Caribbean restaurant up north in North Fargo on Broadway. And listening to his story of how he got to this country, it really speaks to everything that's good about the United States. And here's a guy who had nothing, and now he has a restaurant and is thriving and he's doing well. That's what America is. But let me get back on topic. This is the problem with not taking my medicine. So I've had some of my Trump fans say, well, I didn't vote for him because he's not a Christian. Okay? I voted for him because I like his business, the way he handles business and stuff like that. Well, to me, Donald Trump is not a solid business person. He's not even close. And I will give you some examples of people that I consider to be true businessmen. As far as I know, Shields has never been bankrupt. They've never filed for bankruptcy. They are an outstanding community partner in the community, okay? I know a lot of the Shields personally, and they espouse Christian values, you know? They have morals, they have ethics, they have everything that you want a business in your community to be. Now, take them and look at Donald Trump's business record. Okay? They're highly successful. You don't see them going out doing the things that they do. From what I hear, I've never heard of them not paying their bills. As a matter of fact, when I worked there, that was paramount to make sure you pay your bills and you treat your vendors with the utmost respect. Well, we don't have that in Donald Trump. And for people that want to talk to me about what a great businessman he is, it just doesn't hold water. You look at Kevin Christensen in the PRG group. You know, a lot of the contractors, a lot of the developers in this community, Ray Qualavog, all of these people give back in fantastic ways, and they've helped make Fargo a viable community. So when you speak to me about how Donald Trump is a great businessman, it just doesn't hold water. And you can excuse it all you want, but the fact is that's not the case. We had 4 years of him, and there were a lot of failed policies that never were talked about, which, by the way, was part of the detriment of the Democratic Party. You know, and I'm not excusing them either because they didn't have a very good platform. They didn't roll out anything that said, we are going to change America for the good. That was their fatal mistake. They honestly thought that they could roll out celebrities, you know, and trot people out on stage, and that we would go, oh, yeah, well, Oprah supports them, we got to vote for them. It was a rude awakening for them in that people are no longer fooled, okay? We don't want you to trot out celebrities. We want you to trot out policies that mean that we're going to move the needle forward, okay? We had 4 years of Joe Biden, and some people, we did very well. A lot of people didn't. And so when we look at these things, we got to say, what are they rolling out, and how is that really going to benefit us? And I firmly believe that it was a calculated risk and it failed. And that's America. You know, you want my vote. You need to show that you're moving my people in the right direction. And I always say that voting is a very personal thing. It's one of the few things that as Americans we have on the table that belongs to us. You know? And so we're in a weird period because for me, I hope the guy is successful, because if he's successful, then that means the United States is successful. But I do want him to do away with the rhetoric, you know, the divisiveness that allows people to say things that they shouldn't say to another human being. You know, I want him to tighten up his moral compass. You know, I have people saying, well, Donald Trump is a good Christian. In what way? You know, for me, you tell me you're a Christian, you shouldn't have to tell me. It should show in the works that you do. I haven't seen that. Okay? It seems to me that there's a lot of compassion when there's a soundbite and a microphone, but, you know, I know a lot of people in this community that give selflessly, and you would never know it. And I know you guys think that I have a thing for the Shields, but, you know, have you ever seen any member of the Shields team out in public touting what they do? No. They move behind the scenes. You know, they give where is needed. You know, to me, I think they go above and beyond. This is what we need as business on the national stage. We need people that are willing to give selflessly, not with a thought of what they can get. You know, I know that Kevin will probably be mad at me for saying this, but the work based learning platform and the work based program, the academy, the Explorer Academy, all of this, he's had a hand in getting this thing up and running. But you wouldn't know that unless you're kind of behind the scenes like I am. And so when I look at the reasons that people say, hey, I voted for Donald Trump for this or that, I can give you 10 other reasons and examples of where he could be better. So, Big Game James says we're up against the break. I'm going to touch a little more on Donald Trump when we get back. Then we're going to move in the holidays that are coming up. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000, or you can email it studio at wdaradionow.com. Man, Big Game James is smooth with it today. Welcome back to Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. Last segment, I went in on the Donald Trump presidency. I expressed my views of why he's my president, and I think it's something that we need to talk about. You know, I said when I first started this show that 90% of the problems that that we have could be solved if we have honest dialogue. You know, put a lot of the things that you want to play position politics and this and that. That's great. It has its place, but in order for us to remain a viable, strong nation throughout the world, is we need to have hard conversations. You know, and I've said it before. I haven't lost any friends because they voted for Donald Trump. I lost a lot of respect for those people, but they're entitled to that vote. You know, they're entitled to their thoughts and whatever. But for me, because things really do get black and white for me, there aren't many gray areas, and either you do or you don't. And for me, in my arena, in my circle of friends, people understand that. You know, people understand that, there needs to be a level of accountability. I hope that people would hold me accountable, because when I'm on the radio, when I'm saying these things, every week it takes me a couple hours, sometimes more than that, to put together this show. And part of it is I want to fact check. I want to make sure that when I'm on the radio, I'm talking in the right direction. You know, I want to give information that people can use. So, it's interesting to me that there are things all over the news where people are no longer speaking to loved ones because they were Trump voters. And to me, it's like, are you telling me that somebody that you loved and has been in your family forever, you can't support anymore? And I find that really odd, because, the machine of politics is going to go on long after we're here. Donald Trump has 4 years. What happens after that? And for those of us who have lost loved ones, we know the most valuable thing that you can have in this world is family. And so I'm a little torn when I hear that. At the same time, I have to think to myself, what did people expect? This is a very hot button issue, and you have to expect some reaction, but just like you're entitled to your vote in the way you think, other people are entitled to respond in kind. Okay? And for me, it ain't that deep. Because to me, it ain't like the government is working for anybody in the United States except for people with money. Okay? People with influence, businesses with influence. That's what I see the government, and I'm not really fooled by that. Okay? All I know is that we should try to be good people. We should try to do whatever we can to help other people. Right now we have elected officials that say that it's not the government responsibility to take care of the populace. The people should pull themselves up by their bootstraps and things like that. I find that amazing that rich people, a lot of these people that are in office didn't even own bootstraps. They never had to have bootstraps, And at the top of that list is the President of the United States. So, telling poor people how they can be better. Now, do we have people that are taking advantage of the system? Absolutely. But you can't tell me that the majority of the homeless are choosing to be homeless. You can't tell me that these people out here, people don't know this, but a lot of homeless people have jobs and they pay taxes. There are a lot of homeless people out here that in the last 4 years, they become homeless because they couldn't afford the standard of living. I've had people call me to try to get into housing and things like that. And man, it is a tough hustle out there. So it's hard for me when I hear elected officials talk about these people choose to be homeless. People choose to be poor. Just like right now, there's a big uproar about people losing their ACH benefits, which is the Affordable Care Act benefits. And some people are okay with that. Some people are okay. There are people in our country that without the ACA, they wouldn't have any health care. And you know who that falls on? That falls on people like me and anybody who's paying taxes. You know, my wife and I are in one of the highest income tax brackets, and you know what? We don't care. We don't care because you know what? That's our duty is to live in the United States. Okay? The Bible says we should give 10% in tithes, which, by the way, if you know anything about back in the old days, it wasn't money. It was actually goods and services. So if you were a farmer, you brought 10% of whatever you raised to the government, and that was your taxes. That's how you got taxed. But that's another rant for another day. Lastly, and then I'm going to move on because I do want to talk about Thanksgiving because this Thanksgiving will be the first Thanksgiving without my sister Cindy, and it's it's interesting when you lose a sibling because it's something where you share a bond that's way different than you feel about your parents. And so I do want to talk about that because, you know, when we talk about Thanksgiving, we talk about the holidays. It's not always roses and sunshine for everybody. You know, when we sit down to eat, we pray for peace and we pray for world healing for one simple reason. We know as we sit there eating that there are some people that are getting a meal through the kindness of others. There are people that are getting shelter through the kindness of others. And I think that's part of what makes us great. This doesn't happen everywhere in the world. You know, in some cases, it doesn't happen in the United States. People just go on their way. They step over homeless people. They step over kids in need. But I said it before, I love living in Fargo because I get to meet people that are doing great things every day. Okay? Do we have our issues in Fargo? You betcha. But I'll tell you what, everything you see is a product of people in Fargo working to help me get to where I want to be. So, you know, when we think about Thanksgiving and what it means, if you're a Native American, it means something different, you know. But this holiday, Thanksgiving, has always meant one thing, and that is reflection, you know, reflection on all of God's gifts. And I think that's something because we don't talk about that enough, you know. I mean, our media is so negative and sensationalistic in its reporting that we can become overwhelmed by that. And we forget to really take a hard look at what makes us great. What makes America great? You know, there are a lot of varying opinions on that one, James. But you know, to get back to it, um, the one thing that I've had to do is I've had to seek out counseling services, and part of it is to deal with the death of my sister, and we have a lot of great networks in here. The Village does an outstanding job of helping people in crisis, and believe it or not, um, depression is a crisis situation, and we don't have to look too far to see that there are people struggling here, you know. And one thing that I do is, for me, every day, I try to do some act of kindness because it just makes me feel better. It is very hard not to be happy or not to feel better about yourself if you just smile at people, if you do something nice for people, if you do outreach. Nobody says that you have to take 20 hours a week, but this is what's needed in our society today. Okay? We need to hold people accountable in our society. Big Game James says we're up against the break. It's good because I was about to preach a little bit, James, so I'm glad you cut me off. But when I come back, we're going to wrap up on getting through the holidays. If you guys want to call in, tell me some of your favorite dishes you're looking forward to. This is This is Jon at the Town. This is Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000, or you can email at studio@wdayradionow.com. James, you're gonna have to send me. I don't know what this song is, but it'll definitely be in heavy rotation on my playlist from Spotify. Oh, there's a spot out to shout out Spotify. You think that they're gonna give me any money behind that?
Maybe we'll see. We'll see.
Probably not. They don't even know who I am. So I talked about doing something nice every day. Like I said, for me, it really is. It really is that simple. You know. Another thing is that I have a saying, and it's not new, but this too shall pass. You know. And a lot of times when I just, sometimes we get stuck in a rut. You know, we can't figure it out, and we're like, oh, what am I going to do? But nothing is forever. Good time or bad times, nothing is forever. Things are always changing. So, we have to keep those things in our head. And if you're struggling, please, please, please get help. You know, our pride will stop us a lot of times from reaching out. I have a great support network, and I want to thank my friends for allowing me to call them at all hours of the day and night and express an opinion or thought, or to be able to lean on them, because that's what helps me stay grounded. The other thing is the holidays are an excellent time to reconnect with loved ones. And it's funny because every holiday, I spend a certain amount of time calling people and wishing them happy holidays or happy Thanksgiving or something. But, all of these are just tips that, may help you get to where you want to be. And the one big thing that I have done, and for those of you who have ever been part of a group where you've had a task that you have to complete in a time frame over a period of time, for instance, when I coached, the one thing that I would tell my players or athletes is, be in the moment. In the United States, it's funny, we have a certain way of being where we're always on to the next thing. And a lot of times we fail to live in the moment, which is huge, because that means that you're not really enjoying your life. You're just walking through it. And it's a small but crucial difference. So for me, I always try to live in the moment and enjoy it. Like this past week, we had a house full for Viking Fun Day Sunday. And it was one of the best times that I've had during a Viking game. Shout out to Jennifer and Mike, Jason and Carrie, Roger and Ashley, and Charlie and Christina. They were all at the house, and we just had a wonderful time. And the funny thing is that the game is going on, but there's all these different conversations. It's like we're reconnecting, and we almost get re-energized over a Vikings game. I can tell you that when they win, it's a lot easier to be energized than when they lose, but nonetheless, just that time spent with family. I mean, it's just something where I really enjoy it. And for those of you that don't know, I'm heading north. I'll be 60 in January, and you really do start thinking about the simple things in life as you get older. And so I really enjoy those things, and so I try to stay in the moment. And the last point, and probably the most significant point for me, is be intentional about your spirituality. And for me, I don't know about you guys, but the number of times that I prayed for the Lord to, I was praying on the way over here. I got in at 11:03. The show starts at 11:06 because I was praying that my truck would stay on the road with all these icy conditions. And it's funny because James says, is your first time in the winter? But, prayer, and regardless of your religious affiliation, if you're intentional about your spirituality and you pray in earnest for things that matter, I believe that the Lord will bless you, And to me, if you lose that spiritual component, life gets much more difficult. It gets much harder. But, people say, well, how can you believe in God? And for me, that's where faith comes in. And if you have faith, there are many instances where I'm at a loss as to how I'm going to get things done. There's a loss as to whether it's job or it's family or it's health. As you guys know, I've had many surgeries on this old body, and always, I remember to say, Lord, your will be done, because that's what it comes down to. Is as much as we want to think as human beings we're in control, not so much. Not so much. I believe that the Lord is out there and he's doing his thing. And sometimes we need to sit back and we need to wait on him and take the blessings or the results that he's going to bless us with. So that was, it's funny because this is the first time doing this show that I have gotten through almost all of my show notes. Now, I guess there is a couple that I didn't do. Managing emotions. That's one thing that I really had to learn, particularly in these trying times with all the things that are going on politically, is the ability to look at things and say, it ain't that deep. It ain't that deep. A lot of the stuff that we consider, just these overwhelming things that happen in our life, just remember it ain't that deep. Pray about it, let God handle it, and move on. I want to wish everybody happy Thanksgiving early, just in case I forget. I won't, but sometimes I do. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is Talk of the Town for Jon Adams. You guys have a great week, and as always, stay black.